to our living room.
Yeah, this is our living room, Alcazar's living room. I'm Brian Moots. This is Dennis Mitchell.
Hi.
And I have a radio show called Brian's Radio Lunch Truck on Dennis Mitchell's radio station, CarpenterValleyRadio.com. So basically what this is, I heard a yes. Do that again.
That's what you were listening to as you came in. That's the music we play.
Now you can go back to sleep. Yeah. So this is going to be kind of like how the radio show is, which is completely unrehearsed. A little bit of preparation, but not much. So please be patient. Things will happen. We'll probably insult a few people. You never know. But before we go on, there's two things I do want to take care of. First, I want to thank you, all of you, for coming out on a stormy night and being here and being part of our first episode of On the Couch at the Alcazar Theater. But number two, give yourselves a hand. Thank you. That's on.
Yeah, bingo.
Right on. Your new host. And number two, though, I want everybody to give a big hand to all the volunteers who not only made this evening possible, but every show possible here at the Alcazar. They work hard. Give it up for them. They're fantastic people. Yeah.
The backbone of the theater.
Right. Okay, what's next, Dennis?
Well, we have our first guest to introduce. I don't know, we were going to talk a little bit about the radio show, and that's what we've been doing. We've done like 105 shows. We do it in my little studio in my little house up off of Highway 150 that has an ocean view.
It overlooks the ocean, and the sunsets are beautiful.
Yes, and I set up the seating such that
on the beach.
The guest looks at the ocean and the ugly host, and the host looks out at the guest.
Yes,
so
that's right.
I'm usually the ugly
with
host.
a sneer. That was just horrible.
So
this show was an idea of Debbie Nomura's. She heard our show and she was really impressed. Debbie, are you in the house? Was it the best show you ever heard? Okay, there you go. There you go. But she also gave us one rule. And Wade, what was that rule?
No cussing.
So, like stop signs, those will probably be mostly ignored. So if we might, occasional F-bomb might throw out, and Dennis has a mouth like a garbage dump.
Oh God, I'm the
It's
worst.
horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So please, I hope we don't offend too many people. A few is okay.
The show is on every Thursday at noon at CarpenteriaValleyRadio.com, the station you were just listening to. So listen tomorrow. We'll have an all-new show for you, and all of our past shows are on a Mixcloud channel, Mixcloud.com/lunchtruck.
And you won't be able to leave the theater until you have that memorized.
We're going to give a test.
Yeah, we're doing a test.
All right.
I was going to say one thing. The idea with this is we want you to be comfortable and we want you to participate. So towards the end of the show, you'll be able to ask the guests any questions you want. And of course, there'll be a door prize. We have
Right.
2 door prizes.
And audience participation, you want to throw stuff, it's okay.
Throw money. Pretend I'm a pole dancer. Just go with it. Just
No change.
Visualize.
Yeah.
But really, this is, our house is your house, except for you can't spend a night. Our living room is your living room, like I said, but you have to buy the beer. And our living room has a special guest, Hector Hurtado.
Yes,
He's
we're
coming
introducing
up. Where
Hector
is our
here.
Hector at?
Listen, our first guest
Our first guest, Hector Hurtado.
is a guy that you have seen playing live because he's in like 50 different bands. A whole bunch of them. Super Stoked, Petty Set Go. He was in a band way back then called Blazer, and he's now in a project called Manish Boys. And he's worked with some of the biggest names in the world, and we'll learn a little bit more about that here in a minute. But please welcome Hector the Traveling Hurtado.
All right, hit it.
When they were talking about unrehearsed, I think they were referring to me. Something happened in here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me it's time to stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Leaves are falling all around. This time I was on my way. you, I'm much obliged. It's such a pleasant state. But now it's time for me to go. The autumn moon lights my way, and I smell the rain. It's heading my way. Sometimes I grow so tired, I gotta ramble on. Now the time to come and sing my song. Go around the world on my way. Gotta ramble on, find the queen of all my dreams. Thank you. Little mashup.
Thank you, Hector. That was really awesome. You've been around, man. You've been around the corner, around the bend, and around the world.
I'm just old, man.
No, we were talking to you beforehand about your history in the area, and I mean, you're a SoCal through and through, and South Coast in particular, and all the bands that you've been involved in. When did it all get started for you? Was it AM transistor radio, and then getting a guitar for Christmas, stuff like that?
Literally, like I started, like listening to like when the radio came on in the car. I was little, like 4 or 5 years old. And, I remember my uncle came to live with us, and my mom wouldn't sign up for the 12 records for a penny. But my uncle somehow didn't understand that was a pretty good deal, so he signed up for me. So
they're still after him.
Right, and I remember getting Axis Bold as Love and Leon Russell, and and anybody that had long hair. I just went by album covers, right? And so I started my record collection then, and listening to records, like really listening to records. And then I got a drum set for Christmas, a little J.C. Penney's. I was 5, and they stuck it on the garage, and I would play along, and
Wow, soundproof garage.
No. But it was one of those. It was one of those little kiddie kits,
Yeah.
So you had a record player where I would make I'd have all these 45s, and I would make up, the old days of making a playlist, however many records it would hold in the stack. I think it was 7, right?
Yeah.
And then they would drop, and the next song would play, and I had a little mono earpiece, and playing along to Seventh Son, and like songs like from the 50s rock.
It was totally your ear when you would hear songs and records that you knew you had to pursue that. Because with me, it was the cool kid. I wasn't cool, so the cool kids on the block's like, oh, what's that Led Zeppelin record you have? I must go check this out. So I was always following along.
I don't know about cool kids. I lived in Compton, so I couldn't leave my house. So I stayed in quite a bit.
Oh, very cool.
At the time, and then we moved here. I was like 9 years old. I think it was spring break. We moved to Carpinteria, and it was like moving to Disneyland. I remember, I could go anywhere, and met different friends, and everybody had different interests and whatnot. And I kind of, at that point, like going to the beach a lot, and then playing local sports kind of took precedent. I was still loving music, obviously, and then it wasn't until my father passed away in 1980, and that fall I started playing guitar. And I really wanted to play guitar, so I switched and got,
I got a quick question. In the bands, what was the first club like in LA you played at, and what was that like?
First club?
Yeah, like the Whiskey or something like that.
It wasn't. It was like clubs in Santa Barbara before it was ever. Yeah, it was clubs in Santa Barbara before trying to play clubs in LA.
Right.
And then even then it was like, you'd get to play the Whiskey on a Tuesday night, and you were one of 6 bands.
So like being at the Alcazar on a Wednesday night.
What's that?
It's like being at the Alcazar on a Wednesday night.
Oh no, this is the forum to me. This is, I I
on a rainy
I saw
Wednesday night.
Jaws and The Exorcist here, when I was a kid. So
We remember when it used to rain and
we,
the
yeah,
roof
we
would
would
leak
come here for the
down.
movies. We'd go over and we'd buy our candy over at the liquor store, at the Walski's, and come over here. And I remember watching The Exorcist here, and then with our buddies, and then we're walking home, and it's like, I'm not scared, you're scared. What was that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I freaked
10,
out.
11 years old.
I freaked out at Dawn of the Dead.
Right?
Yeah.
But honestly, this place to me is like any chance I get to be here. Are you kidding me? This is Mecca.
Yeah, so the prices are now,
Dude,
people come here just to buy candy.
This
and they go home.
place is beyond special.
Show's over.
Yeah. There was a band that played here one time. I must have been 12. It was like a Led Zeppelin tribute band on this stage, and I just went, oh, dude, it was insanely powerful. I had been to a show, I'd seen I think it was Tower of Power, if I'm not mistaken, or Average White Band or Tower of Power at the Bowl.
Nice.
I was maybe 11.
Wow.
My first bowl show, right?
Wow.
And then I would go to bowl shows. I would get on my skateboard and after school and get on and catch the bus, go up to the bowl. They would keep my skateboard in the office, and then afterwards, right when the show, sometimes I wouldn't stay for the encore because I had to get the last Greyhound coming back to Santa Barbara. So I'd have to get on my skateboard and go across Santa Barbara to get on the Greyhound and come home. I think it cost me like $1.
And that is dedication.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
But you wanted to see. I wanted to see shows. Once you started getting the bug of seeing live music, it's like
There's nothing like it.
it's infectious,
Yeah.
And back then it was only the Bowl especially had 10 shows a season, 8 shows a season, So you got to see Santana every year, and Crosby, Stills and Nash every year, and No Nukes Benefit, and all of those titles. The Reggae Sunsplash Festival,
Yeah.
right? So
I saw Bruce there in '76 when it was still dirt and rocks and
We're going to be aging ourselves this whole evening. Just let you know right now.
For those of you not born in '76 yet.
yeah, '76 was the year that I first saw my first bowl show. That was, I think, it was Average White Band. I think it was.
It's
wow.
just a magical feeling.
That's so
It
funny
still
because
is.
you went to the bowl, I went down south to Sunset all the time, drunk. Right. But we saw a lot of good shows. And that's why I mentioned that because we both have a friend named Tom Bannigan, and he played down there. We're talking about playing in a storied place like the Whiskey, even though you might have had to pay. But you still played at the Whiskey or something like that. So I wasn't sure if when you first made your trek.
Yeah, you never got it. I mean, the bands that I was playing in, we never got to the point where you were any kind of, you'd show up there, the last band on, throw your gear on, and play on a Tuesday night at
Right.
with the Troubadour or the, any of those LA gigs, and then right when you hit your last note, or sometimes as you're hitting your last note, they're unplugging you, and
Right.
you have the roll-up door that goes to the alley, and you better hope that your friend's out there with the car idling, otherwise your gear's going to get stolen.
Right.
So it was really glamorous, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we recommend the lifestyle to everybody. How was it when you first played your first big show, big stadium, big arena?
Oh, it's epic. Whenever you get to play in front of an audience that's a large audience that's receptive, there's so much energy there. It's kind of your job to mess it up, right?
Right.
The gigs that are tough are when you're playing a coffee shop gig to a chair, and the chair has its back to you. It's indifferent.
Yeah. Feedback is immediate.
Yeah, I understand.
It's like you have those gigs come up too. Sometimes you get hired for a gig and you're like, I remember playing one. We used to play at Cabo's, down the street, right? And I was playing a solo gig one time there, and it was packed. The patio was packed, and it was one of those afternoons where it's like I was a ghost. Nobody said turn up, turn down. Do you know this one? Shut up. Usually you can get a little kid that's in front of you that you can connect. You just want to connect with. Well, if you can connect with one person, right? Because you're trading energy, right? And so if you can connect with one person, just one, then everything else is kind of it makes it okay, right?
That's okay.
And it's usually sometimes a little kid that comes up and starts, just digging it, right? So you're just having this cool exchange, and it's like, all right, cool. It was even one of those gigs where it was like nothing, not even that. I couldn't connect with it. I was like,
No, it wasn't.
right,
It was I blame Cabos.
And a friend of mine came by, and he came around the back wall, and he's like, "Hey man, that's cool. Look at this patio. It's so full of people, man. You got this place packed." I'm all, "No, they're just here. They're not here for me." Believe me. So I played this this SNL skit. These guys had this song called well, it was a funny song that they had, something in a box. Right?
Okay.
And so I said, watch, no one's paying attention. And so I played that song. I had it in the back of my book because we had played a wedding for a friend of mine. We did it as a prank at the end of the night when we knew everyone was drunk, right? And so I played the song, and then he's like, dude, can't believe you played that right now. You're going to get fired. And I was like, man, I hope so.
Do you know any of the lyrics still?
I kid you not. I played that song 4 times in a row, and nobody noticed.
All right.
I don't know if it's. Can you give an example of the lyrics? That meant so.
I would have played it more, but I kind of got sick of it.
Well, we'd like to play another song.
Well, hang on now. You are a hard-working man, and I'm not just. You're a great player, and you play in all these bands, and that's hard work enough. But you're one of the most in-demand, behind-the-scenes guys around, and you're humble about it. And you have been a crew manager on tours with Kenny Loggins. How many times? I mean, how long have you been associated with Kenny, and how did that come about?
With Kenny, it's been since 2021, and full, like every show he's done, and TV appearances and whatnot.
Wow.
But I kind of quit doing that for a long time because I was, I did it a lot in the 90s up until the year 2000. I worked on a tour with Eric Clapton, did the US tour with him. I got to work with a lot of people whose records I own, and I felt fortunate to it's a really incredible way to see the world, But
Yeah.
been to Europe many times, over to Japan, a lot of world tours, and the U.S. and Canada, and and that kind of thing. But I gave it up for a while because it was, it's gone. You get kind of too good at your job, and then you're gone 10 months out of the year,
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
There was one year I think I did 311 shows.
Wow.
Worldwide, so and when you come home and the dog's taking your spot on the bed and barking at you, like no,
I
you
hate
gave
that.
this up, it's mine now, kind of. So I remember our daughter was born in '99, and Sophia was, and she just would look, I was gone most of that year, and I was trying not to be, and so I literally for over 15 years I gave up, I worked my way up to getting good gigs.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I completely threw my phone away so that I couldn't get calls because I want those are who doesn't want to go on hey, do you want to go want to go to this gig? It's a private gig in the Bahamas. You want to go to this gig? It's we're going to go to Seoul, Korea for 2 days, 3 days. It's a one-off, or or whatever. Go to Lanai, Hawaii for a show, or down to Tulum, or or whatever. It's like it's been some of the things that I've been able to be a part of. It's really humbling when my phone rings and they go, "Me? You go, what?"
Wow.
It's
a testament to how good you must be if you could take that long a break and then get back on the horse. I mean, you know your stuff.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I always tell people that I work for the circus.
Right.
I'll share a funny story with you. It's like there was some of the band members were with me. We were with Kenny's band, and we were at the airport, and I had a guitar case with me. I had Kenny's guitar with me, and this lady comes up, and she was just dead set that she knew that I was somebody, right? I'm like, "Are you from Carp?" We were in Charlotte Airport or something, She comes up and she's like, "Who are you? Can I take a selfie with you?" And I said, "You can take a selfie with me, but whatever." So she does, and then she's asking me all these questions, and so then I finally went. She said, what do you do?" And then I said, "I work for the circus." And she says, "What?" And I go, "You work for the circus. You set up a tent, and then you bring the animals in, right? And then the animals do their thing, and I was doing these jazz hands, right? And then people applaud, and then you move the animals out, and then you move the tent to another city. And while I'm doing this, mind you, the band members are kind of playing along next to me, right? And then afterward, when she walked away, they went, "Dude, are we the animals?" And I'm all, "Yeah."
Awesome. Thank you for that. I like that.
So I always just say that I work for the circus.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. It's true on a few levels.
But it's amazing though too. My phone rings sometimes, and it's different artists that I work with and I become now friendly with, and then my phone rings and it's still I can't believe it when I see the name come up and I go.
You should drop any other names
I'm like,
besides
that's
Kenny?
so cool.
You might as well name drop.
What? No.
I'll get it over with. You want to know, don't you?
Your
I mean,
secret's
we all
safe
wanna
with
know.
us.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, your secret's safe with us.
Just like recently, I've like in the last 10 years, doing some stuff with Mike McDonald, and so when his name comes up on my phone, I'm like, oh, very cool,
Yeah.
because he's an amazing. I've obviously loved his music my whole life, but as a person also, and Kenny as well, and he'll always say, hey buddy, what's up?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And you're like, yeah, buddy.
Wow.
Nice.
But it's like yeah, it's as that same little kid that was buying records at that age or whatever, to have these relationships with people who you really love and respect, and to get to know them personally as well and work with them. It's like it's
Full circle.
yeah, it's totally full
And is that
circle.
kind
And I
of
really
rare?
love the work-life balance.
Is that
and
kind
I
of
can
rare
have
in your
my-
industry, though? Is
What's
that kind
that?
of rare in your industry?
What's that?
Having those tight relationships because of schedules?
It's one of those things, though. I think it's because it's like you're never friendly with everybody that sometimes you just go to a gig and you work with an artist and then you go, thank you very much, and it's polite, and then you're done. And other people you sometimes connect with, just like you would at any job, right?
Cool. One more song?
Yeah, would you treat us to one more?
Sure.
Want to hear one more?
Let's see if I can.
All right.
You better watch what you say. You better watch what you do to me. Don't get carried away. Girl, if you can do better than me, then go home. Yeah, go home. Remember, good love is hard to find. Good love is hard to find. You got lucky, babe. You got lucky, babe. When I found you. You put a hand on my cheek when you turn your eyes away. Don't you feel incomplete? Girl, if you can do better than me, then go home. Yeah, go home. Remember, good love is hard to find. Good love is hard to find. You got lucky, babe. You got lucky, babe. When I found you. Yeah, go home. Yeah, go home. But remember, good love is hard to find. Good love is hard to find. You got lucky, babe. You got lucky, babe. When I found you. Thank you.
Our microphones is died.
Hello. Thank
Oh,
you,
we're back.
Hector. Hector Hurtado, everybody.
Thank you, Hector.
The one, the only.
Appreciate it.
Look for him at any rock show you go to.
That's nice.
Well, we appreciate it. You want to have a seat on the
Yeah,
couch here?
come on.
And
You're
as
not
we
going
bring on
anywhere.
our next guest,
You cannot leave.
You signed the papers. So.
Yes. Well, you know who's coming up next?
I do.
Yeah.
I will let you do the honors.
You know what? Coming up next is, I think we kind of consider him our own. He's a special artist. He's a phenomenal artist. As a gentleman, he's one of the kindest people I ever met. Everybody, let's give a big hand out for John Wolbrand.
And bingo!
And banjo.
Good to see you, John.
Hello, John.
Hello, Bingo.
Grab over,
That's
come-
a good
come
boy.
sit
That's
close
a
to
good
me.
doggy right there. Isn't that a good doggy? That's a nice
That's
dog.
Banjo. Hi, Banjo. This is Banjo.
Oh, Banjo. I thought it was Bingo. Okay,
Yeah.
Banjo.
How you doing? Very good. Thank you for joining us.
Grab a mic right there.
Yeah, go ahead. Don't be shy.
There we go.
Is it on?
It is on. It is on.
Got you down off the mountain and into town. We're proud of ourselves.
Will you be able to go back up soon?
Sometime in the next couple of days.
Days, yeah.
Because when the weather gets bad, he lives way up on the ridge on the east end out there.
Yeah, it's a nice place. We've been up there before, and it's really, really, really beautiful. If you don't know John's artwork, and most of you probably do, we can actually, I don't know if we can show some of it right here, the proscenium that he did.
Oh, we
in
have the one
theater.
slide that demonstrates
Yeah,
it as
okay.
well. Yeah,
And-
look at this now, you see.
Right, there we go.
This before and after. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And are you done with the theater, or do you have more plans for your theater?
No, we started with the proscenium and the Juliets, and then we'll be moving on to the four sconces, and eventually the two rosettes.
Up there, wow.
Sconces are those columny looking
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
That's
All
called.
the things.
Those things that are still light colored. Yeah. The idea was to try to eliminate the look that had been the last reincarnation.
Right.
And it was, as you can tell, not all that attractive. And the balconies were kind of like hanging out up there, the Juliets. And so we tried to pick a palette that would, the peripheral part of the proscenium and the Juliets and all would sort of disappear once a performance came on stage. So
Right.
that's
And so we have a slideshow.
okay.
I love your work.
Yeah, you brought some stuff,
Yeah.
and you were going to talk about each one
Right.
with
Oh,
us.
all right.
We have a high-tech queuing system. Hey, Lee. Hit it.
Yeah, we had a whole bunch to choose from, and they were all really, really
Right.
impressive.
Okay. I think these are just at random. So yeah.
Yeah, I've stood at that spot before.
What's that?
I've stood at that spot many times.
Right.
Yeah. I went there yesterday. In fact.
All right.
This is a painting I did a while back, though. What's kind of interesting about this particular painting, this particular spot, is that it just recently has been saved from development, as a lot of you guys out there know
About that.
Right.
Maybe you took part in it. If anyone who took part in saving it, thank you. And also, it gives me an opportunity to mention something about the bluffs. There's this ongoing effort to save even more of the bluffs, as some of you know. And coming up this year, in just a couple of months, the Oak Group, which there's a good number of Carpenterians that are in the Oak Group. It's a group of painters. Each year we choose to raise money for saving open space, and this year, we've done it before, but this year we've chosen to raise money to help save the bluffs again. So,
Right, the pressure is really good to develop. So, yeah, we know that.
so I thought it would be fun to have one of my paintings shown for that reason.
Now this one is called, or it had the tag on it, Ojai Valley.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of commission work, used to, but not so much anymore. Although I did do this one for a gentleman, and it's over in the Ojai Valley. It was one of these things that turned into one of my favorite paintings as I worked on it, and it was just very serene and kind of reminded me of the halcyon days of Ojai when I was a kid.
How long did it take you to do? You said when you know.
Gosh. Always the answer that comes from artists is, like in my case, 73 years.
Right.
You know, I just love your work with shading. It's amazing to me how you capture. You know, even cameras don't capture what your eyeballs see, but this is like what your heart sees.
Yeah, thanks. It was really nice to go there, and this is really close to this gentleman's home, and to go to the space with him and to get to know him a little bit and how he felt about the environment. And so there's an interaction there that happens when you do commission work.
What's the size of this?
Oh, I don't know, it's somewhere around 18 by 24
Okay.
inches.
Yeah.
I say that because some of my work is...
It's bigger.
Yeah, no, it's nice. Huh?
Yeah, I thought really. That's amazing.
At one point I had the largest painting west of the Mississippi.
No
It's
kidding.
6,000 square feet.
What?
So, yeah.
Wait,
and
repeat that?
It was 6,000 square feet.
That's bigger than
So-
any house I've ever lived in.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was 5 stories high, and it was painted in on a wall in Mountain View. And
I used to live there.
Yeah, and it was designed to be viewed from the train.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a piece of trompe-l'oeil. There's some elements of trompe-l'oeil in the proscenium here, and so trompe-l'oeil is to fool the eye. And the idea was to take this large 5-story concrete block wall that was on this new construction, and it appeared as though after the building had been approved, then the city decided that they were not going to allow another 5-story building built in the part that faced the downtown. And so then the developer hired me to paint the building to look as though it was turned around to face the downtown.
Wow.
And that part of it you would see from the train, and there really wasn't a good vantage point when you were up close to it. So that's why.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, perspective. Yeah,
Amazing.
incredible.
All right, what's next?
Yeah. Next.
There we go.
Okay.
I like
Now
this.
this painting is really tiny. It's about this big. And I've painted White Ledge. I'm sure a lot of you recognize this as White Ledge Peak behind Carpinteria. And I've painted it a good number of times, and I've spent a lot of time right at that location with our cattle. And we would drive the cattle in the spring out to Superior Flats, which is on the Ojai side of La Granada. La Granada Mountain is the mountain that separates Ojai from Carpinteria. And so the road that I live on is Chismahu, and which goes from 150 up all the way to White Ledge Peak, and then down into Coyote Creek and on over to the backcountry of Ojai. So this is about maybe 2/3 of the way.
How many heads of cattle did you run? 'Cause I remember
We
that.
had up to 40, I think, at one time, and we're no longer in the business. Now we have 6 pet cows.
And they are super.
And you're getting all the chickens you can, right?
I'm sorry?
You're getting all the chickens you can for free eggs.
Yeah.
It's the only way out.
All right, yeah.
beautiful.
Do you have a particular light you like best? In other words, the early morning, the golden hour. I mean, you just go to hits you like, I gotta do this now.
Yes. Early morning, late afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's really the most dramatic time to paint or to create an image. It's romantic at those hours. However, I do a lot of work when it's right out there in the midday. I'm okay with that too.
You kind of work when you have, because you're busy on the ranch, I know that. So you work kind of when you have to, like, I have 2 hours to paint and I have to do it now.
Not necessarily, no. Yeah, I do have a lot of chores on the ranch, but when I paint, I pretty much get into the paint and stick with it for a good number of hours. And I'm a rather fast painter, so a lot of my paintings, if they're not large murals, something like that, if it's just a painting like this would be in one sitting, so it might be 3 or 4 hours at the most for a small painting like this. Other paintings might be 2 sittings, so maybe 2 days. And that's not painting all day. There's some drinking that takes place later in the day.
We understand that. Hang on.
Now, is that where the Franklin Trail winds up? I've never made it
No,
all the way
Franklin
to the
Trail
top.
would be towards Santa Barbara from here.
Oh, all right.
And Ojai would be towards,
Okay, I just saw
in the
trail
other
from up
direction,
there.
yeah.
Okay. Great painting. We can
Oh,
even
thanks.
see the canvas from here.
Right, yeah, that's what's, I thought about that. I thought it would be fun to have a slide of a painting where you actually saw,
Right, the canvas.
saw the canvas.
Right,
yeah.
Texture.
The texture.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. All right, Lee, what's next? Wow.
Another one was
Yeah,
with
that's
great shading.
Similar area. This is one of my favorite paintings inside. When you asked for 8 or 10 paintings, I put this one in because you talked about the time of day.
Yeah.
And this is that time of day.
Right.
This is Laguna Ridge. So Laguna Ridge extends from La Granada Mountain, which again separates Carpinteria from Ojai, and then Laguna Ridge kind of goes on back from that towards Ojai. And so the Ojai Valley would be back over here, and Conejo Grade would be off in the distance over there. And this is painted from one of many gates that are on our road that go through different people's private properties and through the National Forest a couple of times for controlling livestock. And this is right at one of the gates, so yeah. This would be on my way home because it's in the evening and I don't really come out very often in the evening, so
Right.
this would be on my way home.
Your shading is wonderful. If I'm not mistaken, it even looks like in the far by the grade, you have haze.
Yeah, atmosphere.
Right.
This property actually belonged to Paul Walker for a while, which is kind of an interesting thing. And he commissioned me to do this painting, and this hung in his offices at at the studios. He had the Alfred Hitchcock offices. And,
Wow.
yeah.
All right. Wow, that's beautiful. Hey, Lee, what's up next?
This is
Wow.
the other painting that he commissioned me to do, and this is the view from his house, looking towards the ridge on
That's the ridge we
Laguna
just.
Ridge. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
just closer.
He has a really unique house too. I like this house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like a hiker's paradise. Can hikers get up there?
Not really, and it's because there's a number of private properties that you have to go through even to get to the area.
So surely the people who own the properties hike those trails all the time.
Yeah. If you're young.
Okay.
Right. I don't hike. I stop.
That's walking, dude.
Is this for me?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. All right, Lee, what's up?
Yeah, this was
Here we go.
most interesting.
Hector mentioned a bit ago going to the island of Lanai, and so I lived on the island of Lanai for, I don't know, over 10 years, and so this is one part of the Kailani Terrace, and it no longer looks like this. And in fact, I think that this had already been changed by the time you got there for your show. So, what?
That was now the Four Seasons.
Yeah, but Larry Ellison had already purchased it.
Yeah,
When
Larry did, like, the party we did was
Right, and he had you, and he took them down, correct, John?
Right.
He took the wheels
Yeah,
down.
this was initially, there's 8 panels, so we're looking at 3 out of the 8 panels. And so it's a piece of chinoiserie, which is intentional misinterpretation of the Chinese. That's about as best as I can say for chinoiserie. And it's, in this case, I mean, chinoiserie, traditionally it would be Chinese images, and in this case, I chose to do Chinese, Japanese, Indonesian, Hawaiian, a whole bunch of different cultures are packed into this here and there, camels and all kinds of things are in this. And the reason why is because I took a lot of artistic license with the chinoiserie. I was asked to do chinoiserie for the interior design. But the purpose of doing it was for Bill Gates' wedding. And
So this was commissioned for Bill Gates' wedding.
and I didn't get it done in time for the wedding.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, actually, I was asked to come back from another job. I was working for the Kingdom of Tonga. I was doing the Royal Palace for the King of Tonga.
Can you repeat that?
So I was doing the Royal Palace for the Kingdom of Tonga, and David Murdoch called me up and says, "You got to get back to Lanai and do these murals for the Kailani Terrace because Bill Gates is going to get buried there, and we have to have that done." And I said,
So this
"I'm
is a nice
sorry, but
So this is a nice hotel.
in many ways, it's even nicer without this. I got to say that Larry Ellison has done a really beautiful job, and it's a little oatmeal and beige and brown and
That's the color now.
But
Now, did you have to study that art form, or were you familiar with it already?
I went to the Brighton Pavilion specifically to get designs, and it's heavily influenced by the Brighton Pavilion. This wall is the male side of the room, and the opposite wall is the female side of the room. So it's a wedding mural, and the entire environment was designed to look like
And
a wedding had taken place.
Is this the wedding murals right here? Correct.
Yeah, so you see, this is the emperor's side, and on the opposite side of the room would have been 3 panels, and the center panel would have been the bride and the princess, and she's being carried in a sedan chair, which the Hawaiian word for is manele, and the location is Manele Bay, so that part worked out well. But the reason why it has all of these different cultures was because it was kind of a nod towards what was happening with what Bill Gates was doing at the time in the world, digitally bringing the world together in a certain way. And because the chinoiserie style had started with trinkets from the Silk Road, sweeping across Western Europe, and then hopping over to the eastern part of the United States, where you would see, like pineapple finials on beds and that sort of thing, and part of chinoiserie. And then eventually on the West Coast, I think a good example would have been, still is, the theater. What is it in LA? The Grauman's Chinese Theater.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then suddenly, and the style would wax and wane. It would be popular and then not popular. At the moment, it's not popular anymore. But at this time, what I realized was I was able to bring the style full circle all the way to Hawaii. So it circled the globe.
Right on.
Wow,
Wow.
awesome.
That's fantastic. Right on. Oh, wow. I can look at that all day.
Yeah, I know, that's...
When I was working on it, everyone I met and would have conversations with, and there were lots and lots and lots of people, I would work their monograms into the painting. So it's riddled with people's initials.
Oh, that's so cool.
So the largest one is Bill Gates, which I think you probably could see on one of the panels. Let's see, it's somewhere up in there.
Right.
There's a big medallion, and then the man who commissioned it, David Burdock, from Dole or Castle and Cook, his would be the next sized initials that are found, and then his architect is at his feet, and so there's a lot of symbolism built into it.
Well, your paintings have a lot of symbolism. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
That's so cool that it's subtle. It's like only the people would know.
I would get postcards from people from all over the world afterwards, and years after that, saying, "Oh, we went back to Lanai and visited our initials." And
Awesome. Right. Okay, Lee, what's next? And this is the 5-story building?
No, this is a 3-story.
Okay.
And this was the first painting that I ever did that was a commission for the public, and this was for the under the Dianne Feinstein administration when she was mayor of San Francisco, and this is near the Civic Center, and it's an architectural trompe l'oeil piece again, and this one incorporates the real windows that were in this brick wall, and to try to. It was in a part of the city that was theatrical. At the time, I was doing really a lot of. Okay, Banjo, you lay down. Come on. Good boy. Stay. I was doing a lot of set design and working in the theater at the time, and where this is, Turk and Hyde, which is near the Tenderloin and a depressed part of San Francisco at that time, but it had a history of having theater, and music and.
That depth and shadow effect, you did that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's supposed to appear to be theatrical, as like a stage set, but it's also supposed to be like the phoenix rising from the rubble, and so it's kind of also symbolic of memory of the great earthquake in San Francisco, and a revival, and this being a Greek revival.
So how
piece.
long did you do theater design? Because I don't know if a lot of people knew that you did that.
Yeah, off and on for maybe 15 years or so, yeah. But it wasn't, anyone who works in the theater, and there's a bunch of them here working tonight, thank you very much, you guys lead, all you volunteers. Yeah, it's impossible to really, almost impossible to make a living doing work in the theater.
Right.
But you have it seems like you have a particular interest in doing art for theaters.
You know,
Well-
he
Is that
keeps looking at me when he says it.
Yeah.
I know it's impossible the minute he keeps right at me. No, I can attest.
Please. Yeah, please. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's tough to make a living in the arts. You know, it's difficult, and so whenever you're able to, that's what I'm saying. It's very humbling when you're able to do so, because it's not common, and there's most people that I know struggle in that.
Yeah.
So.
It's a passion. If you have the passion and dedication and luck.
I'm just too stupid and stubborn to stop, you know.
Right. Well, I have a question for you, Hector. Do you know? Have you come across over the years? Because I know quite a few musicians who hit a certain age, and they decided to work at a normal job. Have you come across those?
Yeah. That happens.
Very talented people too, really talented, but they just, they want a job. They need they
Want money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, extremely talented people. People whose records of people, like, it blows my mind sometimes. And you're just going, oh, that's not fair. Like, how come I have gigs and you don't? That's not fair.
Yeah.
Like, way more talented than, they have more talent in their pinky, than I ever would have. And it's just like, but, they just, at one point, they just turned it off.
Right.
And it's like,
Weird business.
Yeah.
Weird life.
Now we got the urban setting up here, John. I want to talk to you about, because I know that you've had put a lot of work into murals on buildings, and you're more than a muralist, obviously.
Thank you. I don't like to be. Is this still on?
Yeah, there you
I
go.
don't like to be referred to as a muralist.
I know. You have a lot more. You do a lot more than just that.
Just different things. Yeah.
Right. But I guess I hope this might be a touchy point, but how does it feel? Or how did it feel when you put so much work in, and then somebody buys a building, and through the city council covers up your work?
Okay, that's happened a number of times, and well, there's a lot of different sides to that. One, you end up learning about what rules the different governments have or don't have, and whether they even follow their own rules or don't. So then there's also the part about it where there's a lot of growth that I've experienced. learning a little more about my fragile ego, and I think overall I didn't really learn that lesson until actually nature took a lot of the work, which was all my documentation in the
We're
Thomas
talking
Fire.
about the Thomas Fire. Right.
So I kind of really woke up to putting it in check at that point.
That seems like a trifle having your something covered over. I mean, you're already paid for it, but it still has to, like he's referring to the situations he's referring to. So it's like mixed emotions, I guess.
Yeah, community mural. Yeah, except for instance, this particular mural, which I used, I actually was pioneering liquid silicates, which is a mineral coating, and it's applied to a virgin surface. This would be a brick surface, an old brick surface. I had to prepare, get everything off of it. I had to remove a really beautiful old 7-Up sign that was on the building that was 2 stories high. I'm really sorry that I had to do that, but in order to paint this painting, and but I did it so that it would last, and the paints that I used probably would have lasted about 80 to 100 years, and the mural ended up lasting about, I don't know, 15 years or something like that.
Right.
The city didn't remember at that point that it was done to last, and also it got hit with graffiti along the bottom, and having at that point moved back to Carpinteria, it was impossible for me to go back and maintain it, and so some other artists were commissioned to come in and do their version on the wall, so good for them, I guess, but it was really ugly after this. And then their work was painted over, and someone came in with a really beautiful mural that now sits on this wall that is a reference to the musicians that played in a nightclub that was on that site. So, there's...
So
it's not all bad.
Kind of good, yeah, right.
Yeah. Made
We
its
have to work
impact.
with it, I guess, for sure. Lee, do we have more?
Next. Yeah. Okay, so this is where I can put a plug in for Santa Barbara Fine Art, where my paintings can be purchased.
What's you can repeat that. We did the radio station 15 times.
Yeah, so this is Santa Barbara Fine Art is in the building in front of the Arlington, and going to and fro. I really enjoyed seeing the Arlington Theater in different light, and so this is one of the times that I've painted the Arlington. A fun story about theaters, and we're in this one, and the Arlington was where my mom having been born in Santa Barbara, got her first job, and she sold popcorn in the Arlington Theater.
There you go.
So when she was in high school, Santa Barbara High.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Tell us about your book.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know. We're
Yeah,
giving away
good
a
job.
copy as
Yeah.
a door prize.
That's it.
And it's one of the more cherished items locally. I can say for
thanks.
sure.
Okay, let's see. When I was young, I decided to start collecting documentation of my work, and was pretty meticulous about holding on to photographs and everything I possibly could to try and reconstruct what I did with my life, and was able to circle the globe a few times. And so I was thought at one point that one day I would put a book together, and then again, Thomas Fire took all of that away. Most of the photographs and videos and transparencies and slides and so on. And so so I was not able to put a book together, but someone that had purchased my work a while back. Yeah. That's actually the box that the book comes in.
Right.
But the door prize is the box. You don't get the book. That cost us too much money. It was like, forget it. But you got the box.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're showing that, because I think that slide is in here. There's a slide of that. And the woman who purchased that painting a number of years ago said, I met her on a bus, and she found out who I was, and she said, well, there must be a book about your work. This is many years, like 20-some years, more than that, almost, well, 25 years ago. And she said, there must be a book about you. And I said, no, not really. And she says, well, I'm gonna write a book. And then time went on, and eventually she wrote this little book. And it's a lot of the photography in the book is by one of her students who is now older and retired. He was the photo editor of the LA Times, and Hal Wells. So Linnell Burkett is the person who put the book together. Hal Wells is the one who did the photography. And so I guess at this point, if I ever do a book, I think it'll be a tell-all. So watch out.
All right. Yeah, I want to read that. That's the one I want to read. All right. What else do we have, Lee? No, here we go.
Oh, yeah. This painting was purchased by Joyce Powell. And some of you know Joyce. And hey, Don. Yeah, she was one of the first people to start collecting my work many years ago. This is a more recent painting that she purchased. And it was part of a series of paintings that I did of celebrating the state of California. And Trump white piece, and has a magnifying glass strategically placed over Carpinteria.
That's right.
And it's got a lot of hidden meanings in there too. My dad painted a painting, a map of California on our wall. Maybe that's where I got the idea of doing murals. I don't know. But when I was really little, over on Walnut, where I grew up, like 2 blocks from here, and when I was a little kid, in our kitchen, he painted a painting of a map of California, and he would, when we would travel, he would paint in little pictures of the places that we went. And so
that's cool.
It was kind of fun to do my version.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, you can't fold that one either.
No. This won't fit in the
Is there any other images? Is this the end? Hopefully.
There we go. Oh, here we go.
There you are.
Oh yeah, this is me working in the studio, and this is a piece I did, a more recent piece a few years ago for City and County of Los Angeles. And it's at the Van Nuys Airport, and it's got all these different images that refer to things that took place at the Van Nuys Airport from the very beginning of when the airport was proposed, and they sold certificates to raise money. And so the overall mural itself is based on a blown up version of one of these certificates. And then superimposed are all of these different aviation themes that the guppy is on there, which also had a Santa Barbara connection, and a whole bunch of things are in there. But I threw it in just so you can kind of see how I work. Like I think this one shows my computer with a photograph that I'm copying to put into the mural.
Wow, fantastic.
All right. I like that.
Is that it, Lee?
Oh, we got many more.
Oh, let's go faster.
Well, okay, we'll get a couple more for sure.
Because
Yeah.
we have to have the.
This is
these
near and
two
dear to
lovely
us.
Yeah, we have other
women to come up, which, by the way,
You know, 2 o'clock in the morning,
We're the warm-up act, right?
and then at night.
and
Okay.
it's
What do we have here?
Month of the women, right?
Yeah.
Women's Month, right? So that's.
And this is
Oh yeah, I put
This is
in.
Lyndon.
Yes, someone who had won the bicycle at the Rexall Drug when they were kids commissioned me to do this piece, and I threw it in just because it has the Alcazar across the street.
right there.
Yeah,
it does.
that's what you're looking at.
Next.
All right.
Fantastic.
What else do we have?
Is that it?
No, of course not.
Let's do one more.
Okay, one more. This is in, it's in the Four Seasons Westlake Village. I've done a few Four Seasons hotels, and so this is in the studio working on.
It is a living room.
So yeah, this is a painting in the estate of David Murdoch, who was one of my major patrons.
We went there and had a couple drinks.
Yeah,
And we saw this one.
it's an interesting painting. I'm not even sure it's still there. Hotels tend to change things out fast, but this painting was one part of a diptych, and I don't know that anyone's ever done this before, but a diptych is two paintings. In this case, the paintings are back to back. So when you come into the grand staircase, and there's down. Come into the grand staircase, and there's a painting that looks over the
Okay, Banjo could spend the night.
Hidden Valley in Westlake, and you see Mr. Murdoch's estate off in the distance, and you see him on his Arabian over here, and his dogs, and me as Waldo painting over there, and it's concave, so it's in a staircase like this, and it's quite large. 70-some feet across and 30-some feet high, and on canvas. And then you go down the stairs and you go down into the restaurant, and on the opposite side of the wall, the other part of the diptych is facing the other way, and you're now at that location looking back. So it's an imaginary world of a real place, though, and you're looking at the two views coming and going.
Wow, innovative, and you have a vision, and you're just quite amazing, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks.
John Wolbrand.
Glad you're part of us. Thank you, John. Thank you so much. Thank you, Banjo.
Stick around, stay tuned, because when we get to door prizes, we have an autographed copy of John's book for some lucky winner in the house tonight.
I signed it.
Like Tony Bram won with the
Right.
Beatles. Okay, our next guest is an Oscar-winning makeup director. How many watched the Oscars Sunday? Last I heard, Adrian Brody's speech was still going on. But, anyway, she won an Academy Award for her work on Braveheart, and she's also been nominated. We're going to start out with a reel that she provided of some of her amazing work. Lee, hit it. This could get a little loud. Just letting you know they got new sound here, and it's great.
Okay, lady, stay calm. This is the police. You're gonna slowly turn around. Do you understand me? She doesn't.
The boy is hotter than hot. He's hot all night long. All night long, all night. Ooh.
It will take just one more minute. I know.
some exotic booze. There's a bar in far Bombay. Come fly with me, let's fly away. Come fly with me, let's float down to Peru. In Llama Land, there's a one-man band and he'll toot his flute for you. Come fly with me, let's take off in the blue.
While Mona Lisas and Mad Hatters, sons of bankers, sons of lawyers, turn around and say good morning to the night.
Captain has turned on the no smoking sign.
For unless they see the sky, but they can, and that is right.
Does anybody remember laughter?
They know not if it's dark outside or light.
Look at me. It's a horse.
corpus and freedom of the press, abuser of state rights.
Lincoln really were a tyrant, Mr. Wood. He'd have had your empty head impaled on a pike.
Which may achieve and cherish a just and a lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. And come February 1st,
I intend to sign the 13th Amendment.
Well, your credits are stupendous, and had to start somewhere. How did you get into this?
Well, it's a kind of potted story, but I have to say the reel's a little bit out of date now, but I still think it works. How did I get into it? Well, really, when I was a child, I didn't know that there was a career doing makeup. I mean, you know, it wasn't... I come from a working class family in North London. And so Hollywood was literally the other side of the world. And even the British film industry didn't really, you know, no one I knew or my family worked in it. So I didn't know that there was that opportunity. But what I did do was I went to the local dance school. And it used to irritate me that everyone would look different, you know, if they were all meant to be uniform and say milkmaids or mice or, you know, whatever characters that we happened to be, dolls at one time. And so when I was about 7 or 8, must have been about then, I sort of was a bit bossy, I suppose, in that way. Not that I don't think I am in life, probably am. But, you know, just kind of organised it so everyone would look uniform. If they're in the same costume, then their hair and makeup should look the same. And then when I left school, actually I went into dance. But from that, I really wanted to work in film. So I offered my services to film schools to work for free while earning a living doing everything else, including making envelopes, actually, at a lawyer's firm, and working in a baker's, because it was, you know, first thing in the morning, really early. So I would work on films and do the makeup. But in those days, you used to do everything. So I'd be doing the catering, the costume, you know, everything. In fact, there was one student film. We were in the north of Scotland, and we were staying in caravans, which were freezing cold because it was October. And the student who was the sound man went out for a packet of cigarettes and has never been seen since. So I became sound on that particular film as well. So that's how it started. And when students left, especially the National Film School in Britain, they left with a union card. And in those days, well, in the UK, and now it's still the case here, you couldn't work without a union card, and you had to be working to get a union card. So it's a catch-22. But they would be given a union card, and then they would start off. And it was just at the beginning of rock videos. So basically, we intercross over that. So it was rock videos, and the students left, and they were the kind of first things that they, you know, jobs they were given. And then they would remember me and say, come and do makeup. So the first paid job I did was with Jean-Michel Jarre for an album. And on that, I was also helping do the tea and coffee. Because I mean, it was still a bit that way. And there was an incident, actually, which is quite peculiar, that the tea urn, it was cold, but they moved the trailer and it spilled over and just absolutely drowned me. It wasn't hot, thankfully. But of course, we were shooting in a field, so I didn't have any dry shoes. So Charlotte Rampling, who was married to Jean-Michel Jarre at the time, gave me a Wellingtons.
Wow, nice. That's awesome.
First job, you know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So feature films, on film sets, film shoots, the days are really long, and I know we talked earlier, and you had a day of a work stint of 30 hours.
Yeah, it was close to 33 hours without stopping.
Wow. And what film was that?
That was Rainmaker, Francis Ford Coppola. It was the end of it, and he actually handed over to his son, Roman. So they were doing kind of 12-hour shifts, but of course the crew weren't.
Right.
Yeah.
Where was that shot?
We were in Tennessee and Memphis in the beginning, but that particularly, we ended the film in San Francisco.
Why was the day so long? I'm just curious.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Just one thing after another, I suppose.
Well, how was catering? That's really important.
Well, actually, the funny thing was, on that longest day that I've ever done, although I've done 20-hour days, 24-hour days, that kind of thing. In fact, the Hall of Darkness, doing Darkness in the Hall of Darkness for Legend was some of the longest hours, and that was really hard work to do Tim Curry. I mean, he's a wonderful actor, and he was fantastic, but to actually make him up as Darkness was a huge feat. There was myself and Nick Dubman, another makeup artist, that did that. But so we'd stop. You have to stop and eat. So because you don't want to eat, because all you want to do is go home or lie down, you know. But anyway, there were food breaks every 8 hours, you know.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So you worked with Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
Private Ryan and others, how was that? I mean, how was he?
It was bloody hard.
Yeah.
I know we shouldn't swear, I just did.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
No, but
I
we're in
broke the
America.
rule.
We're in America.
Sorry.
You know. Wait. Oh, here comes Debbie. I'm sorry, you have to go. I'm sorry.
Censored, never come back. Yeah, it was incredibly hard, and it was hard for a variety of reasons. I mean, the D-Day landing sequence was shot in 15 days, and that's from, you know, the landing craft coming in, all the way through to the hilltops where Tom Hanks' character meets Mellish. No, not Mellish. Oh gosh, now I can't remember his name. It's gone from my head. Yeah.
I'm gonna say, wait, don't worry. Where am I?
The translator. Someone look it up. You've got your phones with you. Someone look it up.
So you won an Academy Award for
Yes.
Braveheart.
Yes.
How was that? I mean,
What's that like?
Yeah, what's that like? I mean, really, that's kind of, yeah, what's that like?
Well, there's a combination of things, actually. It's something that, you know, I think everyone kind of thinks of or fantasizes about, or maybe they don't, but I think that the vast majority of people have some kind of idea about doing that. I didn't, actually. So, and it was always something that would happen to other people, not necessarily yourself. And you don't do the work ever with the thought, well, I don't. I think some people may, but I don't think about accolades or anything else. You do the work for the work itself, because you're telling a story, and telling the story as well as you can from your contribution is actually what the work is about. That's what drives you. That's why you can do a 30-hour day. That's why you can do a 20-hour day.
So you put your trust into the director, or
not necessarily.
Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry about that. But you see what he wants. He tells you what he wants.
Yes.
And you fulfill that.
Yeah. Well, yes and no, because makeup and hair is slightly different. I mean, most directors have an opinion over hair. They do. But for makeup, not necessarily, because some directors are technical directors or they're actor directors, you know, so that's where their focus is. It isn't necessarily on makeup. So sometimes they'll have an idea of the character, but you have to fill in the blanks, you know.
Who has been your favorite director to work with?
It's not an obvious answer. It depends on what the project was, but I suppose for the length of time I've worked with him and the way I would work with him again tomorrow would be Steven. Yeah.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Well.
And I tell you for what, because he can be a really hard taskmaster. You know, I mean, he really can be. He can be Mr. Grumpy too, and everyone can be grumpy on a film set from time to time, because the hours are long, the work is pressurized, you know, and all those things. And to be a director, you carry a huge amount of responsibility, you know. But it's because when I've been on the film set with him, and there's something like in Warhorse, you know, we would get a shot, and it was incredibly difficult because you're working with horses, and they've got a 2-hour window that you can work with each one. So in fact, there are 16 Joeys and 8 Topthorns, all of whom had to look like each other. So that's a challenge for the makeup department. And when a shot goes well, Stephen stands there and he goes, yes, but it's yes, not as in a, yeah, good, thank God we've got it. It's not that. It's his first film, or he's 9 years old with that 9-year-old excitement, and it's the thrill of that, and it's contagious. And he does appreciate the work. He will never forgive you if you do it wrong, but he does appreciate the work, and he gives you space to be creative. He's not always on you saying, I want this, I want that. It's, you know what I want.
He trusts you to do your job.
Which is
basically.
lovely,
kind of real.
and that's wonderful.
Yeah. Big elephant in the room, the naked silver guy. How much of that did you have to do him from head to toe?
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I didn't notice that.
It was actually.
Did you notice that? I didn't know. Did you guys notice that? All right, good. Good, you're awake.
One of the first films I did, it was immediately after Gregory's Girl, which was the first film that anyone might have heard of, which was a Bill Forsyth film. And I met Peter Greenaway, who's a fabulous painter, in fact, and he, as well as an architect himself. And he did a series of short film, one of the sections of a short film for the BFI, which is the British Film Institute. And all the stories had to revolve around a monkey puzzle tree. So there were these little vignettes. And in fact, the 6 directors, I think there were, 6 directors, all of them achieved renown as being directors. So that's an anomaly and rather unusual. And no one has a print of that, which is a shame, because it would be wonderful to see now. Anyway, so I met Peter Greenaway on that, and he said, will you do the draftsman's contract? So I said yes. And Michael Feast, who's the actor who's the statue, so we were all in Groombridge in Kent, and we were filming in this fabulous house that's now been turned into a hotel, but at that time was owned by one man called Mr. Mountain. And it was fantastic, a fantastic garden and a fantastic house. And we loved doing the film. So Michael Feast had been unwell, so he'd come back to filming to be the statue in one scene. But because we were all on the same money, everyone got paid £175 a week, whether you were the actor or the runner, because that was part of the BFI contract. So everyone was there. And of course you're staying there, so why not use him? And I liked doing the statue. In the beginning he had a loincloth and it was kind of a Romano Greco statue, because in the allegory of the 1680s is that gardens were everything. You know, it was sort of tulip mania and all those things. And people couldn't afford to have Italian statuary. So they would pay someone from the local village to dress up and be a statue when people came.
So what you're saying, that somebody's wife paid a gardener to look like a tree.
Yeah, no, to look.
And she went out to the garden.
Yeah, no, to look, to blend
She just
in,
kind of
or
went
to
out.
stand on a
I gotta trim the roses,
Yeah,
babe.
yeah, no, really. But so Michael.
Go to the pub.
Michael, so I'd say to Peter Greenaway, can we do a statue? And he said, well, when can you do it? And I said, well, probably, I think by the time we've got everybody ready, let me think, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. He said, all right. So that's when we did him blending into the wall. And the thing was that, you know, you start to make him up. There's no one too young out there, is there?
No, we don't care. Go ahead,
this
go.
Is slightly X-rated. Anyway, so.
But there's no cussing.
Of course, no swearing. So, you know, I start to make him up. And I'm blending him into the wall. And of course, you're concentrating on him becoming a part of the wall. So you're not really looking at him. You know, there's something about when you do makeup. You're not really looking at the person. You're looking at what you're doing to that person, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so I start to make him up. and I think, oh, I've missed a bit. So I go like this, and of course, oh, I've missed another bit. Anyway, so he went, he went, sorry, Lois. And I went, oh, that's all right, and carried on round the back, because he was going to walk away from the wall. Right. So I had to weave greenery to match the wall into his pubic hair.
Okay,
So,
time out. Can you just repeat
course,
that?
when-
No, time out.
when-
No, backtrack. Say that again.
Yeah, how long did that take?
Because I'll never be said again in this theater.
So I was weaving grass and lichen into his pubic hair so that
Well, I'm sure there's a website for that.
he could blend into the wall. And, you know, the film crew came because that was 11 o'clock and everyone was ready. So we do the scene, and a bit of the grass had fallen off for take 2. So I go back in and I'm weaving it. So what happened was the camera crew, being camera crew of course, turned over and, you know, made the camera run. So turned over while I'm doing this. And of course the next day the rushes go off and then they come back and you all watch rushes. And there, with the rushes was a note from the lab that the film had been sent to saying, please tell the makeup artist anytime she's passing, she can pop in and visit us. She's more... But the really funny thing was that years later, I mean this, and I'm talking considerable years later because I've met John, my husband, we met on Braveheart, and we had gone to visit the lab for something, a test that we were doing. And I can't even remember the film now. It must have been Captain Corelli's Mandolin. And there on the wall was a blown up picture of the back of my head weaving.
Will you marry me? I have some grass in my car. It's just, I've got some weeds.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Oh, you can go now. That was it. You can't fucking top that. I mean, that's awesome.
We were talking about the Oscars.
Oh,
You,
God,
obviously,
yeah.
you watch every year.
Okay,
and, you
yes.
know.
So I was working on The Fifth Element. So on the Friday to fly over for, you know, it's been nominated, which, in fact, there's a funny story about that. So on the day of the nomination, obviously, with the time change, it's 5 a.m. here, and it's like lunchtime in the UK, 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Anyway, we were at lunch, and of course it was announced, and Mel and John rang me because they were together. So they rang me and said, you know, you've been nominated, and of course that was exciting. And someone made a post-it and was saying Oscar nominee, and stuck it on my T-shirt because I was working, and I'm walking down the corridor, I block at Pinewood, and one of the runners. Shows you, doesn't it really? One of the runners, the PAs, came towards me and looked at the badge and went, yeah, you wish.
That's awesome. All right. Wow, that's kind of harsh, though. It's kind of harsh.
You know. Anyway, so on the Friday, got in the car, flew over here, exhausted, and had to go back and, you know, straight into 300 crowd at Floston. So it was hard. Anyway, so I sort of didn't have time to think about it, really. And all I do know is that, you know, John was on one side of the theatre with all of the cinematographers, and I'm on the other side with the makeup people, the other fellow nominees. And when our names were called out, and I'd been popped on the end of the aisle, and there's this kind of belief that if you're at the end of the aisle, everyone thinks you're going to win. It's not true at all, because in subsequent years I was part of the Academy, well, I'm part of the Academy, but I was on the board and chairing the awards committee. So actually I had a part of where people sat for the show. Excuse me. So I know that that's not true. Anyway, so when our name was called out, my fear was that I'd just be rooted to the chair and unable to move. You know, that kind of, I can't move, just in shock. So I had this fear in my head. So when the minute the names were called out, I was like a greyhound out of a trap after a rabbit.
Right.
And I was at the foot of those stairs, and I turned round, and Peter and Paul, my colleagues, were sitting there, you know, giving it large, having the cameras turn on them for they're the winners, you know, and all of that was going on. So I just had to go back and collect them and then And I'm standing.
I think it'd be even worse if they didn't call your name. It's like, boom.
Yeah, no, oh God, that would have been worse. But what happened was, you know, Olivia, oh gosh, now I can't remember her name. Alicia Silverstone was the person who, you know, presented the award. And talk about so ridiculous things. I got up there and I went, "Thank you so much for saying my name nicely." I mean, anyway, so I didn't have to speak or anything. But the thing was, I stood on the stage, and of course, unlike now, which is that we're lit and I can vaguely see you, but it's just kind of shapes rather than real details. Of course, it's lit for television, isn't it? Obviously. So you're standing there and you see every face. So there's all these faces staring at you. And I looked over and I couldn't see John because he was kind of well towards the back, and it was just an enormous space, you know, full of people. But in the front row was Mel. And he was looking at me, and as I was standing and listening to Peter Frampton give the speech, which felt like hours, but of course it's just moments, I could see that tears were in his eyes.
Oh, wow.
And it calmed me, but also made me more nervous. And of course the other thing was, the minute you step off the stage, all I wanted to do was have a pee. So, you know, then you've got the problem.
Well, it is a living room. Go ahead.
Well, it's true. So, you know, because it's all the nervousness, you know, and you're too frightened to go beforehand, you know, so it's all of that. So I go ask them where the bathroom is, because you have to go through these rooms with all the press and everything else. So I asked them where the bathroom was. They showed me to the bathroom. And of course, here the stall doors are quite high. Well, obviously you don't have your name on the Academy Award at that point. That comes later, because otherwise everyone would know who would win it. So you've got this gold-balled man, and the cistern slopes like this, and you don't want to put him on the floor in case someone pinches it under the door, or it's a bit disrespectful anyway, and you don't know how clean the floors are. So there's a whole slew of things going through your mind. So you're trying to hold this 6 pound, very awkward thing like this in your dress while going to the bathroom. I mean, that's something.
Wow.
That you don't forget.
You've ruined the Academy Awards for me.
Wow. Wow. Incredible.
There were no plugs, so you'd have to take blue tack or, what do you call it here, museum wax. That kind of thing to create a bath plug. I'm not kidding. Anyway, so, and one of the peculiar things was that you could order room service, and it would either come in 2 seconds or 24 hours later, not at all, or sometimes in the middle of the night. There was nothing, it was a toss of the coin. So I was going to dye Ian's hair, and we had run down for some sandwiches and a pot of tea. So either it's going to come or it's not coming at all. And I'm in his room and dyeing his hair. And I look at it and it's starting to change colour. I mean, going green. Not black, blue-black, but green around the edge. And I'm looking at it thinking, oh my God, I said, we've got to get this dye off, we've got to get it off now. Now the thing is, he couldn't get in the bath because he had polio as a child and had a caliper on one leg. So it was very difficult for him to get in. So he had to take his trousers off.
Okay, here we go.
And because he was going to lie in the bath, because you couldn't lean over like that, you see, because of the caliper. It was just too uncomfortable. So he had to lie in the bath with his head under the tap. Well, the only way with this stupid little thing like this was for me to get in the bath with him and stand over him doing this, right? So I think, well, what am I going to do? So I go to my room, get my swimsuit, put my swimsuit on, and I'm standing over him, getting this dye off, washing his hair. When the door opens, the waiter comes in and goes, room service.
So you carry a swimsuit wherever you go. Wow.
And the reason why his hair was going green was because there was a corrupted copper in the pipes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good.
It's
You're done.
always
I'm done. I'm
something.
finished.
Yeah. Lois Burwell, everyone.
Thank you, Lois. Very much.
Thank you so much.
That was fun.
Awesome stories in a world we only imagine about. All right, our next guest photographs rock and roll stars. So she's near and dear to our heart because part of Brian's Radio Lunch Truck involves the guests picking the music. And we always get some great requests for some cool rock music. And so Joanne's been on our radar for a while.
Yeah. Go. How you doing? How's it going? Good. Right, grab a mic if you want.
Grab a mic?
Yeah.
Well, all right. Thank you, Edna. He's did that for me because one of the people I photographed was John Bonham's son, Jason, who had the blessing of Led Zeppelin to form his own band.
Wow.
The JZLB, the experience.
And we have this.
And we have a short video.
Right.
I just thought it would be easier instead of single photos, so I put together a video with music. Forgive me, copyright not intended to be.
It's okay.
But it is credited at the
Right.
end.
Yeah.
And
Look who's sitting next to you.
and then, I know, right?
What she's done.
I can't believe I'm sitting on the couch with this woman. I'm so honored. So they invited me here because they thought it was highly unusual for a woman to be taking pictures of rock stars at live concerts. And I just want to prelude and say I never really looked at the profession that way. So 20 years ago when I dipped my toe in at a U2 concert in Boston on St. Patrick's Day.
Wow. There you go.
So it's a trifecta.
Right.
And I'm in, where they had positioned me was way up by, like, let's say nosebleeds. I'm like, this isn't, I'm not gonna photograph them from like way up there. So like, I walked all the way down to one of the front loges and I ended up next to a newspaper guy. He's like, oh, this is great, we have to hook up. I got that a lot. This is great, we have to hook up so I could get your photos. I'm like, yeah, okay, you're gonna pay for that, And so I'm photographing away, and the next thing I know, this huge arm comes over the loge, picks me up like 2 feet in the air and starts screaming, she's a pro, grab her camera, she's a pro, get her out of here. So next thing I know, the Boston Garden Police come to my rescue. So I thought the police were coming to arrest me, and they came to arrest him. And they said, come with me, blah, blah. So what ended up happening was midway the concert, I had to surrender my camera. And they escorted me back to my seat, which they gave me the front row in front of Bono.
After that.
Now, were you credentialed?
Yeah. So.
And they still give you that?
Well, this gentleman, obviously, this is the cool part of the story, was after the gig, after the concert and everything, I'm driving around Boston going, this is insane, I know Bono's still here, he's partying his ass off, I'm gonna find him. Plus I had to meet the Edge as a guitar player, right? Didn't really want to meet the Edge.
There you go.
So I ended up finding him at the Four Seasons on Com Ave, where everyone's still dressed in their proper suits and everything, and I'm dressed like, a rock photographer. So I ended up getting into the party on a kind of cool way with a gentleman who was dressed in his best Bostonians, and he let me come in through his party because my name was not on the list.
Nice.
So the cool part, guys, was I get in, and I went over to get myself, a proper beer at St. Patrick's Day. I've had just a terrible night. And the roadie for the band hits on me, which was a constant thread. I knew something was going to change in my life.
You mentioned something interesting. There's a difference between working here in the States and working like in England or in Ireland.
There is, and we'll get into that in a sec. But so here I am in Boston, totally disrespected because I think it was because I was a woman, And so this roadie starts hitting on me. He says, did you go to the concert? And I'm like, yeah. Who are you? He goes, I'm the roadie for Bono. And I said, well, that's cool. He goes, yeah, I got this great story. You'll never guess what happened. I'm like, what? He goes, during the concert, arrested this woman who was taking photos.
Oh my God.
He told me the whole story about myself.
Yeah, yeah.
So I sat there and I was trying not to laugh, and I said, fabulous, and what did you do with her film? Oh, I only just pulled it out of the canister, and I felt like saying, like hell, because I still had one roll, like right here. You know, but you learn, like, early on, like, God, there is a prejudice against women doing this. I'm gonna have to figure a way around it. And so I ended up making good friends with all the bouncers and the police officers, and they took quite good care of me in my career. So we're going to take a look at the photos. I feel there's no prep, right? We're just going to rock and roll with this.
Now,
Is that what we?
what should we be looking for?
Well, I think, and even Lee, who's doing our lighting, love you, Lee, pointed out to me, which has been the story, is that the musicians always seem to be looking at my camera. And that's true, and it's unavoidable, because what I found also early on was I never looked at it like I'm a female photographer coming out doing this. I looked at it like I'm a photographer, I have a responsibility to these bands to take their pictures the way they want to be seen, to recreate the feeling, the emotion, so that when people look at it, especially them, they hear the music, they feel it, they're in the vibe. And so I always made it my job to technically learn the skill and to professionally show up with the right equipment and just do the job and focus on that, instead of my colleagues, which were 100% of the time men in the photo pit, that came with 20,000 cameras and were always complaining, and they were getting drunk and they were getting stoned, and the band would come out and go, her, she's the only one that's showing up pro, we're gonna go over and play to her. Nice. So they would come and play to me. So we'll talk about that funny story. But there's a picture of Aerosmith showing me a certain part of something that they wanted me only to see at the edge of the stage. So here we go.
All right.
Take it away.
By the way, it's going to be loud. So just let you know.
Oh, mic drop.
Not as loud as that.
You got it?
Go, Lee.
Where's the, we got the sound? We got some pauses.
There we go. No problem.
Give it up.
That was good. That was good.
Yes.
It looked like Stevie Nicks is pissed that you're photographing her.
Yeah.
Oh, so she was pissed. She was.
The Stevie Nicks story is super cool. We were probably, I'd say, 20 of us in the photo pit waiting for her for about an hour. And this was at a time when she had just given up coke and she was going through menopause. And I knew she was extremely self-conscious about had gained weight. And the way the stage and the photo pit is set up, a lot of the time you're like, you know, in the bowels. And so she knew enough, and that's key. All these bands know that, like, when they look out and they pose directly for a certain photographer, they know the one who's going to photograph them at a good angle because they could see your camera angle. They see what you see. They're that smart about it, okay? So she had been in her trailer looking at all the photographers and apparently knowing this. So this guy comes out and he said, okay, all the photographers and video over to the side now. So we all go running over. And he said, Stevie's picked 2 people, 1 still photographer and 1 video. I'm gonna call who got the cut, and everybody else just leave and shut up. I don't want you to complain, just go. Because we gotta get this show going. And she picked me. Wow. And she picked the video guy. And I know she picked me for 2 reasons. 1, she probably saw what everybody else usually, I heard, saw when they saw me. 1, she's got pro gear. 2, she's positioned on the stage correctly. She knows where she's doing. But the other was, I was the only girl. So, it was to my advantage. So no. So, no, but I think that point where she's actually looking at my camera, she was in a lot of pain that night. And a lot of times.
Was that Santa Barbara Bowl?
Actually, no, that was another arena show.
Oh, okay.
That was another arena show. And the problem too was she also incorporated in her show, and I put in those blurry pictures on purpose because I want people to understand this. When this device came out, it became the hell of every musical act, because people would pay more attention on their phone than they were to the band. And people would use flash, and all these rules were broken in terms of photography. So lighting crews decided that they would shoot laser, a certain rapid speed type of lighting that would come out from the stage that would interrupt either your camera or your phone from doing that. And so Stevie had a lot of that stuff going on. So if you looked over and you saw Waddy Watchell, there was like this big spotlights coming out of him and stuff like that, which then would blur everything. So there was a lot of stuff that changed in the industry when the cell phone came out.
What's your strategy for stadiums and/or smaller clubs? And is there a strategy difference?
You just have to, like this wonderful person sitting next to me, you just have to know your craft and your technical so well that it doesn't block your ability to be creative in any situation, and just be able to dodge those bullets.
It's literally focus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about that, and it's about having the right lens and just timing. I grew up being a musician and so photography, so it's like I study these bands. Trust me, before I go out, I'm like, okay, that's what they did last week, but what are they doing this week? Where are they going on the stage? How are they rendering these songs? So that it's a timing thing. A lot of it's a timing thing, and it's a lot of fun.
So where have you photographed everywhere around the world? Because it sounds like I know you've been in England.
Yeah,
obviously.
so London, Hyde Park with The Who. Wow. All the way to Ronnie Scott's, my favorite jazz club. Here, so the Forum, all the big arenas, right down to the Ian Anderson was at the Wiltern, which I absolutely adore. They're very sweet. Tom Petty, Hollywood Bowl, we know that. So just all around. And then in New York, the smaller jazz clubs. So Ron Carter, famous bass player, over at Blue Note down in the Village. And then also John Coltrane's son, Ravi Coltrane, over at Birdland. Yeah.
Right. You talked about how you're treated different in Europe. We're going to talk about that.
We did, yeah.
I'd like to kind of cover that because I thought it's very interesting.
Well, here in the States, photography is considered the lowest common denominator, except when I've done units still on sets, and I work with directors, and you're like gold, you're like you're online with the DP and all of that. But basically, every place else, as a photographer, you're pretty much the lowest common denominator, and it's really, you just get used to that. And then my first job over in Dublin, Ireland, I was doing some documentary work, not rock and roll, but some documentary work for a children's project. And the second year I did it, it's a 2-year project, we do it in the summer and then come back and do it again. The project director came over to me and said, well, the Dublin Lord Mayor is here and he wants to meet you. And I thought, oh, he wants a photo. She goes, no, what's wrong with you? He wants to meet you. You're an integral part of this project. And I go, oh, I'm just a photographer. She goes, wow, how do they treat you in the States? You're an artist here. And I'm like, can you adopt me? So yeah, I met the Dublin Lord Mayor, and he was just like, it's a great honor to meet you. We really appreciate your photographs because it's been able to get us the funding and all this kind of cool shit. So it's completely different. I'm going to move to England.
No, that's different. Again, like I asked Lois, how did you kind of get into this?
I just happened.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
If you're the kind of person determined after a show to go find Bono on the Edge, I kind of understand how you got into that. It's any avenue. Access is part of it, but it's focusing on what you're doing.
Well, I think what happened was, I think things just kind of fall into place, and you don't realize that all the work that you've done along the way creates the person that you end up being.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of an interesting thing. I think a lot of people, especially in this town, know me in a bunch of different roles, but they probably don't know about this.
Right.
And this has always been my life. I was always the kid with the camera, which is why I'm in no family photos. I think like after the age of 5, when they do those standard things with, here, pose like this, I'm in no more photos, and it's pretty funny. But yeah, I love it. I've done it, I've worked it, I've taught it. It's just like part of who I am.
We have another clip, and let's talk about the Beatles. I do Breakfast with the Beatles on Carpinteria Valley Radio every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. Tune in, catch it. 2 hours of the best music ever made. And you had cause and reason to go over to Europe, to England, something Beatles related. Tell us about that.
That was interesting. So everybody knows Clem Burke, the drummer for
Clem Burke from Blondie.
Blondie. So Clem Burke was a client of the late John Ferreter, who had his own agency. Anyway, John was part of a very famous local band here called the Tearaways. And anybody who knows the Tearaways, yeah, they're a great garage band. I'm like, no, you don't get it. In Liverpool, they're like the Beatles. They are like A-list band. They played at arenas.
You can't get a ticket to see them.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. And so one year, the Tearaways drummer hurt his hand, and Clem's like, I'll go, because I always want to play at the Cavern Club. So John told me, I'm like, and I'm going.
So explain that.
As your band photographer. And John said, yes, you are.
Cool. Now explain the importance of the Cavern.
So about the Cavern, what do you want to know?
The importance of being at the Cavern Club.
Well, it meant a lot to Clem to be at the Cavern Club, so much, and the Cavern Club owners were so blown away that Clem Burke was going to play there, and the Tearaways, with the Tearaways rather, they gave him a brick in the wall. So Clem's got a brick in the wall.
Special souvenir. Very nice. Well, you brought a memento of that trip.
Yeah, and so this is mostly because people like, so you're a woman rock photographer, what really happens with all the sex and drugs backstage? Well, this will show you. There was no sex, there was no drugs. I was, again, the only girl. And yes, they're only drinking water.
So it's like being married for 45 years.
And Clem's very serious and he's very shy, but you get him on stage and he's like the most bitchin' rock punk drummer you ever heard.
Right, he is.
Fantastic.
So,
all right,
take it away, Lee.
Let's take a look.
Okay, Lee.
Sing along now.
So the cavern, literally the walls would sweat.
Yeah, and it's really small in there, so for all those shots I was literally on the stage with them. It's good to be tiny, isn't it? We can fit in lots of spaces together. And just, so the parking lot thing, right? We want to talk about that.
The history of the cavern, yeah.
So, well, go ahead.
Well, the Cavern Club was where the Beatles got their start, as you know, a dark, gritty, sweaty little dank cellar, literally, where they played and gained their fame, and where Brian Epstein saw them for the first time. And as they rose to world superstardom, the club fell on harder and harder times, and they were going to shut it down. They announced around '65. There were petition drives from fans to keep it open. One of them succeeded, but then it still failed. And so they wound up demolishing it, filling it in as a parking lot, and building a replica Cavern Club next door. But you're able to access, actually, the stage is actually still intact.
So one of those last shots where they're all in the parking lot. Okay, so the shot before that is them in the back room, right? So, and you see the signs Cavern Club, and you go through some secret doorways, and you end up in the parking lot, and you'd walk past it if you didn't know it.
Right.
Kind of like being in Rome. This is where Julius Caesar was killed, and you just drove by it. But there it is. That's where the stage was. So they blocked it off, and it was important to Clem and everybody to be photographed where the real stage was.
Yeah. You talk about a historic landmark. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, and a funny thing happened to me on the way to the Cavern. So I would go to the actual Cavern Club offices to do my post-production on a daily basis, because we were up at like 5 in the morning. They'd be interviewed on the BBC Merseyside, and and stuff like this. So, and then we'd play till 2 in the morning. So I had like this small window, and I'm in there, and they had very old computers. So here I am with all this modern techno equipment, and I'm trying to like wrestle my photos. And anyway, in walks this very slight, woman, and she comes in. Oh, hi. Are you new here? What's up? I said, oh, hi, my name's Joanne. I'm with the Klemberg and the Tearaways. Oh, lovely. Hi, my name's Julia. And I'm like, John's sister. It was Julia Lennon.
Yeah.
And she was just so, oh, that's wonderful. You're the photographer. See, this is why I'm moving to England. Oh, wonderful. You're the photographer. Oh, it was so great to meet you, and we've heard all about you. And have you seen my book? Let me get you a copy of my book. Let me autograph it for you. And I'm
John,
just
you hear
like,
that?
I'm just like, oh my God.
She was on Breakfast with the Beatles once. It is her birthday today. Just by coincidence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad
We
you got to
planned
meet
that
her.
out.
Yeah.
We planned that-
Yeah. We made sure it happened
But
on the
just
5th.
a very sweet and
Yes, she was
just a
wonderful.
sweet.
Everybody in their little circle, there's no nasty people.
Yeah.
Tony Bramwell, I don't know if you ever met him. He passed last year. Just a dear friend. If you go to the Liverpool tours of all the Beatles haunts, he was your guy. Funny guy, have a pint of Guinness with you. So they just were surrounded by wonderful people.
So very cool. So, yeah.
Joanne Calitri, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. All right, guys.
Look for her in the pit next time you go to the bowl.
Okay, we have now the drawing for the prizes. What's going to be the first prize?
Well, we only have 2 prizes. I thought we were just giving away them both at once. Or do you want to give them both?
No, 2 different frames. Yeah.
2 different?
So we'll do the.
Okay, first
Uncle
one is a
Chen's.
voucher for Uncle Chen's.
Where is that? Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, over in
Well,
Shepherd Plaza
after
there.
seeing the video.
And this will get you food at Uncle Chen's.
All right.
So check your ticket numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoopsie. Sorry, technical error. Right. Who's the lucky winner? Number 2748301.
301. Got it, buddy.
Come up to the stage.
Come on down.
Come on down.
And this is for a copy, an autographed copy of John Wobrand's wonderful
Right.
book.
So there's
Okay,
the Chen's
then.
part. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And
Congratulations.
thank you for coming out tonight.
Hope it's for 2. Right, now, winning ticket 2748299.
Got it just 2 before he got
Anybody?
his.
299.
Yeah.
Did you guys throw it away?
299.
All right,
Going.
Going once.
Going.
Twice.
Gone.
Oh.
Another ticket.
One more time.
Oh yeah. So John do one. Oh, he's picking them. Okay.
Right, okay. Winning number 2748292.
292. We got a winner. Yes, indeed.
All right.
All right.
Sorry, Banjo. We're going to do that right now. Yeah. Yay, congratulations. We'll put it back in the box for you. Yeah, it's a beautiful book.
Yeah, you scroll through this for hours.
And you get the box as well.
Yeah. Everyone, thank you. Thank you for coming out. Now, John and Hector, come out here because we're going to spend a little bit with the audience asking you questions. This is good.
Does anybody have a question for Lois or Joanne or Hector or John Wolbrand? Surely.
Come on up.
You want to know something.
Or Banjo.
Yeah, Banjo.
No, I did not have
One word
sex with-
answers. with
Banjo's
Banjo.
going to answer all the questions.
You forgot to ask me about Joe Perry.
Oh, wait. Okay, real quick. Joe Perry.
No, go ahead.
Joe Perry of Aerosmith.
So Joe Perry of Aerosmith. So you notice there was a lot of photos of like me like looking up like whatever. So funny story was I had you basically when you work with a band enough you just like you go like that and they know you're just okay. So and Steve never looked at anybody because he thought all the cameras were on him anyway. So then it was like Joe's turn, then Tom Hamilton, then the drummer, whatever. So Hamilton's going out on the long T. They just set up like a T so it could go out to the audience. So he's walking out there, and I keep getting bumped, which I'm used to, by all the guy photographers, and they're like bumping me. Finally, some guy yells in my ear because you can't hear. You're wearing. By the way, you have to wear like ear protective ear because you're right close up. And he goes, "Look up." Look up, and Harry's doing this like. Take my picture, pointing to his crotch. And so I did. I took like 3 of them, but he was moving too fast, so they're a little blurry for effect. And through one of them, you could see, through his legs, you could see, the bass player looking like, what the fuck's going on? Just another one of my fun times being a girl.
Those moves never worked for me.
Being a girl, yeah.
Okay,
Some stories,
let's open it
I'm
up. Audience questions
want to ask
for
a
anybody.
question of any of our guests
Don't be
this
shy.
evening?
I see Larry.
Larry Nimmer.
Yeah, question for John. Do you pick a certain lighting time of day that you want to document? Because the lighting, I guess, if you're painting it all day, it changes all day. So how do you do that?
How's this working?
Use the other one.
So the question was, say it again.
Do you pick, since the lighting changes all day, like a long shadow here or a long shadow there, how do you decide where it's going to be? Because while you're looking at it all day, it changes. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a good question, and hey, my hat is off to all of the plein air painters, and they are amazing that they are able to adjust for that. I tend to use, I'll do a sketch, and I'll take photographs, and then I'll go back to the studio for much of my work. So, although I am part of the Oak Group, and they are known to be plein air painters for the most part, there are some of us in the group that are not known for our plein air. I have painted out in plein air, but we have some members that are not plein air, and I would say I'm one of those. So, but when your question reminded me of something that I was going to say earlier about painting and light, because that was one of the things that Brian mentioned, was that one thing about paintings is that they're often look best when they're lit in a similar light to which they were painted. So that's something to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Got to know tricks, little tricks sometimes, You
do stickman, don't worry about it. So simple. Okay, anybody else for any question? Yes?
I just have a comment. We were treated this evening hearing from 3 incredibly talented artists and incredible.
4.
4. Sorry.
Wow. Sorry, Hector.
And I thank you, and I thank the theater, Brian, Dennis, and the entire staff here for what you did this evening. And seeing one of John Wolbrand's painting of the Arlington Theater, this theater is older than the Arlington.
Yeah.
And I have a question for John. You grew up in Carpinteria, and what made you move up into the mountains? Can you, I don't know if you mind telling us a little about how you ended up in the mountains?
Where I live, it's a ranch that was homesteaded by a great uncle. And so it was a property that I would go to when I was a child and was really passionate about the property. I I was living in San Francisco. Jean-Claude and I had a home that had quite a mortgage that was difficult to pay with what I was earning. We were kind of thinking about what we might do to move on from there to something more affordable. And when I learned that my family's ranch came on the market, and there was someone from Los Angeles that had put in an offer, and we contacted my cousin and said, you know, how much is it? And we were able to swing the deal and abandon San Francisco and move back to Carpinteria onto a ranch, which, I mean, there's seasonal water. We've since drilled a well. There's no electricity. It's way off grid. The road had disappeared going into it. We had to rebuild the road to get there. The structure was collapsing. They were going to bulldoze it just to make the property more valuable. And we were able to save that and fashion a home there with solar. And the timing was perfect because cell phones and were just coming on in 2002 as being more popular, and solar was available, wind, and so we were able to take advantage of all the satellite internet, satellite television, all of that was happening right at that time. So we were just hit it at the right time, got it for the right price, and so that's why I'm in the mountains. And I don't think I could have afforded to live in downtown Carpinteria.
Nice. I actually see 4 or 5 talented artists up there.
5 talented Carpinterians.
Yeah.
All these people are Carpinterians.
Wow.
Right.
And John, we love your Facebook post. His group is Celebrate Carpinteria. If you're on Facebook,
Thanks for the
that's the
plug.
one to belong to. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone want to take it over?
A lot of Facebook people asking that these days.
Oh yeah, I see a hand over there.
John, could you tell us your experience with the fire?
Well, real quickly, yeah, we kind of knew that it was a potential, inevitable. Let's say that, and so we fashioned the exterior of the house in recycled corrugated metal, and kept the area clear all the way around the house, no vegetation next to the house, or very little. And then prior to the fire, we took all of the furniture off of the deck and everything away from the building so that there wasn't anything that would catch fire and take down the building. And then I was exhausted actually the night of the fire from raking leaves and getting ready for it, and but it still came as a surprise. Came over the mountains from the back. We've been watching it come up the coast, all the way up to Bates area, and so we were kind of a little bit caught off guard when it actually came from the back country over. And Ryan Moore called. Some of you know Ryan, right? He called us in the middle of the night. And I didn't have my phone or something. I didn't pick up. And then he called Jean-Claude's number and to warn us. By the time we got up, it was too late to get out. We didn't plan on leaving anyway. We wanted to save the animals and try to save the house. We had 15,000 gallons of water stored. We had a dedicated line to the house from the tanks, thanks to Mac Brown, and 300 feet of fire hose. And so Jean-Claude and I stayed there and fought the fire and saved the house. And you know, when a lot of our neighbors lost theirs, dear Connie, you're so sorry. So yeah, we were very lucky. I don't recommend anyone try it.
Yeah. Wow. Heroic. Scary.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? Right back there.
Oh, blimey, can I remember? Roy Harmon, I mean, I remember Roy, but I can't remember. Oh, The one that I do remember is that he was a great raconteur and a fabulous storyteller. I mean, really fabulous and very funny, really amusing. And he was standing on the set, and he and Meryl had been together for like 35 years. I mean, she always had Roy. And they were real friends, and when they were on location, they would, share a house together or an apartment or whatever. Anyway, he was standing there telling this story and everything, and she just came up and she was getting ready for a take. This was on a film called Lions for Lambs, a Robert Redford film with Tom Cruise was in it as well. Anyway, so she came up and she's standing there like that, waiting to be checked, but he's in the middle of a story. So she just goes into his pocket and pulls out the mirror and a lipstick and says, "I suppose I have to do myself these days." And he said, "Yes, I'm in the middle of a story." And of course she was teasing, but it was just so cute. I mean, she was great. And the time on that set was quite slow, I mean, it was, some films move, with Stephen, you're on that film set, you move. I mean, there is not a wasted moment. I mean, it really can be like a route march. And you always end up a better makeup artist at the end of the film than you are at the beginning, I feel, anyway. But this was a kind of, slow, ponderous film to make, to be, polite about it. It doesn't mean it's a bad film, but it was just a different style of filmmaking. And of course, Meryl was one who wants to keep going as well, and Tom is one who wants to keep going as well. So in the end, we ended up doing that cookery class and swapping recipes. So somewhere, though I don't know where it is, I've got Meryl's mum's recipe for fried green tomatoes. And it was so slow at some times that the camera crew, we taught them how to do needlepoint. That'll give you an idea.
Yeah, that is slow.
It was slow.
Now, one question we asked when we got together before, and it might surprise all of you, this grand wealth of work and people you worked with in these magnificent films. What was your favorite film to work on?
Well, it would always have to be Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yes, of course. Why was that? Was it just a blast of fun? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun every day. Puppeteers are really creative, wonderful people, and the freedom, I mean, not everyone is, you're always going to get a lemon somewhere, aren't you, in any group of people. But the thing is that the puppeteers, they have a freedom because it's not them, it's the puppet. And they were, I hope I'm not spoiling anyone, but the idea of how Muppet films or programs are made. Anyway, they're on a rostrum and the puppeteers are underneath looking down at a monitor with their arm or two arms, whatever, up the puppet, making it work. So, because they could be free with those characters, I worked with Frank Oz, for example, on Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and Frank was there, and obviously it's Fozzie Bear and other people as well. So I'm standing on the set, and there's this tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and all I could see was this big Muppet mouth coming at me to take me backwards and give me, a snog, basically. And Frank Oz is not that person, but when he's got his arm up, Fozzie Bear, he is. So it's tremendous. It was tremendous fun.
So he's wanted in 3 countries. Just have you seen this Fuzzy Bear? Okay, anything else? Anybody else? Yes, right here.
War horse. Lois, how many horses have to be available at any particular time, and how long will they be required to do whatever event you wanted to?
The question's about Warhorse.
Yeah, Warhorse. So to answer your question about Warhorse, how many horses and how long they could work for. I mean, horses can only work for, it depends on what they're doing, actually, to be accurate. But if they are on a film set doing anything in particular, it would be 2 hours. Is the maximum they can work, and then they have to have at least another 2 hours of rest before they would come back. But on that film, Joey was meant to have a white blaze and white socks, and Topthorn is all black. So there were 16 joeys, because each horse had not one. It's not like being, you know, an actor, and even then they had doubles, you know, or stunt doubles. But it's not as if one horse can do everything. So one horse, Swaino, for example, was excellent at standing with huge noise going on around him. Another would come at liberty, so could be called by his trainer anywhere, and he would just walk his way through a crowd. He would go past an explosion. He would do anything to get to her at liberty. So another horse would be lying down. One would be rearing up. One could work with anyone at all, you know. Another, you couldn't look at the horse in the eye, only the trainer could. So there were a variety of things. And horses, like people, don't look like each other. They, you know, you can have a string of bays, but there's nothing to say that the bay, that colour that you needed to be Joey, would actually have the talent to run through explosions and be fine with that. So of course it's what the horse can do, and then you make the horse turn into the character. So horses, like people, have an eye-to-mouth ratio, which is basically what, you know, with portraiture and everything else, photography, that we work with. So you do the same thing. So they had to have, all the joeys had to have a white blaze. So we shaved out the shape and changed the horse's appearance by the width of the blaze, the length of the blaze, to either bring the eyes closer together, elongate the nose, so that they look more joey overall. And then with Top Thorn, we had to dye several of the horses, because we had to dye all of them, but we had to dye several of the horses black, because they were in fact bays.
You put them in a big tub?
No,
Oh.
no, and that's really difficult. There's one product, which is a Japanese product, because horse hair is not like human hair. So the closest thing that we have as human beings would be Asian hair, because the hair shaft is thicker. So there was one, and you can't use bleach on a horse. So there was one, that was why we were doing the wiglets and the wigs around the legs for the socks. So there was one product which was a Japanese all-natural product that we could use on the top.
It's fascinating. It really is.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Okay, anybody else?
One more real quick one for
Oh, yeah.
Hector, you're a very talented musician, and I'm curious if you can even answer this. How many songs do you know all the lyrics?
Oh, good one.
That's a good question.
I've forgotten more than I know. I play with a lot of different people, so I'm constantly having to learn new material, which I love. It puts me in keeps you, you know, constantly growing as a musician, you know.
Just an estimate?
I don't know, 100.
Oh, come on.
More than that.
I don't know. Like I said, you know, it's hard because sometimes you have to be kind of triggered. Like someone says, tell you a joke, and as if you were sitting around, passing the mic, telling jokes. As it goes around, I remember another one, right? And it's the same thing when you get together with other musicians, and someone says, "Oh yeah, this Pink Floyd song," and I go, "Oh yeah," then it triggers a memory, and I start playing, you know, half a dozen, or half of the wall or something. Right?
Got to know more than 100. I'll
Right.
bet you.
And so then someone says, "Oh, how about Neil Young?" or "How about this?" And then "Oh yeah, I played that with these guys before. I think I remember that one." You know, as I get older now, I lean on my book quite hard. You know, most of my gigs, I just have I can glance over and get the line. You know, like it's like getting a line in a scene or something. You know, right, and whatnot. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, cut? Well, nobody left. We're going to do this till everybody's left. Just they're bored. Like, you know, like we'll be the worst hosts. You know, guest that never leaves. So I guess that's it.
Yeah.
This is
We had a
incredibly
blast. We hope
humbling
you did
to
too.
be sharing a stage with these talented folks.
Yeah,
So
well,
thank you for having me.
That was almost 3 hours. We started at 6:40. It's 9:07. Thank you for everything.
Thank
you guys
you.
are fantastic. Thank you
Please
so
tune
much.
in, CarpinteriaValleyRadio.com. Tomorrow at noon, it's Brian and me, a couple knuckleheads from Carpinteria, doing a talk show every Thursday at noon.
And Greg will never ask us any kind of intelligent question.
Just gotta get you in. CarpinteriaValleyRadio.com, your homegrown radio station. So
And if
thank
it
you very
goes
much.
well, we'll be doing this again next month.
Yeah,
We're
here's
trying to
hope.
make this an annual thing. Thank you for coming out. I know it's a stormy night. Thank you for sitting here, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And again, we really appreciate everything you've done supporting the theater. Thank you.